Welcome to the DIY Goalie Podcast, where hosts and goalie coaches Nathan Park and Connor Monday share their insights on how to become a better goalie.
Goalies, how are we doing? Welcome back to the DIY Goalie Podcast presented by True North Goaltending. I'm your host, Connor Monday, soloing this episode today because Nathan doesn't want to hang out with me. How we doing? Nice to see everyone. Hopefully, off season has been serving everybody well, and we are now back into the middle of training camp, or at least getting ready for training camp, whatever that may look like. Hopefully, everybody has gotten themselves back into shape after being out on the boat, on the lake, golfing, whatever that may be. Maybe a little bit out of shape. Hopefully, we are back at it today. Like I said, it is just me in the captain's chair today. Nathan is out on assignment. So, good luck to him. And we are going to run it ourselves today. Just a few housekeeping things that I did want to take care of here quickly. We just want to remind everybody that we do have online booking for our training facility in the Edmonton area based out of Nisku, Alberta. So if you are traveling to Edmonton or do happen to be in the Edmonton area, please feel free to go check us out at truenorthgoaltending.com. That website will be in the show notes, and make sure that you go check out our website. And if you aren't interested in booking a facility session with us, we do have that available to us, as well as a non-promotional shout out to KH Performance, as they also rent out our facility to do their cognitive training work. So if you are interested in working with them, you can head over to khperformance.com and book with them. Ariana and Tracy are phenomenal people to be working with, so make sure you guys go check them out, because again, cognitive training being the newest fad when it comes to goaltending. So we want to make sure that your goaltender is in tip-top shape when it comes to the mental side of things, and as well as processing. So we want to make sure that we're on top of that. That is really it. We did just come out of our we did just come out of our week-long goalie camp that we did in Beaumont. That was a lot of fun. Really glad to meet some people there. We had some new faces as well as some familiar faces in that camp. So it was a fun week all around. I got chirped by some kids, nothing new there, but it is what it is. I did just want to come on to the pod today and just have a chat about a couple of things. We're going to be talking today about skills to focus on in a game / practice. I did have a few parents come up and ask me about that, as well as I wanted to talk about evaluations today, since we are in that type of year. We're about to be entering into that part of the season. We might have covered it in another podcast. I don't remember, so I'm going to talk about it myself today. So, so let's just jump right into it here. So I did have some parents talk to me about just kind of what goes on in their kid's mind during a practice, and especially during a game as well. I've had a few parents be like, well, they're focusing on too many different things, or like they're not looking good in one area, but they are looking good in another area of the game, or they're regressing, or they're this, they're that, so on and so forth. And so I'm just jumping on here to just say that's okay. That is fine. So I did just want to break it down today, just kind of talking about just kind of what should your goalie be focusing on during a game, and what should your goalie be focusing on during a practice. And especially if we can start getting a hold of that now at the start of the season, and then that'll hopefully translate throughout the rest of the year. So this was a biggest thing. This was a big one for me because my dad and I talked about it a lot when I was playing, especially when we went to practices and even when we went to games. Was when we went to a practice, my dad would always ask me, like, what is one thing that you wanted to focus on, or what's one thing that you want to work on rather in practice today. And it wasn't meant to be like, well, I want to work on 2-on-1s, or I want to work on breakaways, or anything of that sort. It was, you're going to be in a practice that is not going to be goaltending heavy. There's not going to be a lot of goaltender development, if you'll get any at all. So he would ask me, like, what's one thing that you wanted to focus on throughout today's practice, i.e. tracking, head trajectory, rebound control, my skating, etc. So that is something that I've passed on to my goalies, and that is something that I will pass on to everybody here. Is when you jump into a practice, and I've talked about in other podcasts as well. When you jump into a practice, what's one thing that you're focusing on during that practice? Is it your angles? Is it your depth? Is it your tracking? Is it your rebound control? I find that especially when we're in a non-goalie friendly practice, ice time is obviously rare enough for goalies as is, but when we're in a non goalie friendly environment, what is one thing that you really want to hammer home in that practice? Is it your tracking? Is it your head trajectory? Is it your rebound control? Is it your angles? What is it that you want to work on kind of internally throughout that practice? Is it not getting mad at every single goal that goes in throughout that practice? I think it's important that, especially for goalies that maybe don't get a lot of goalie coaching, or maybe just, you don't get a lot of goalie development time in a practice, or let's say if you have three practices in a week and maybe you only get one practice that has goaltending development, if that. It's important that, you know we're still working on something for ourselves, so that we can get better in the net, and that translates into the game. Um, doesn't hurt as well to go up to your coach and say, like, "Hey, coaches, I want to focus on my angles during that practice," and maybe you and your coach can have that dialogue there to say, "Oh yeah, well we're going to do a flow drill of some sort where the shot's going to be off the half wall, or whatever that is, top of the circle, hash marks." Whatever that may be, it's your depth or your rebound control or whatever. Actually, rebound control will be a good one. Say like, "Hey, coach, I want to work on my rebound control." So then the coach can say, "Hey, yeah, we'll go in for a shot. Player picks up the rebound, goes for one extra shot." So then hopefully, they maybe make it a rule, but hey, puck's in the corner, you're dead. Puck's above the goal line, fair game, so on and so forth. Um, so I mean, like there is different ways to get better in a practice without having goaltending, without having designated, I should say, goaltending development. We've talked about it in other practices. We've talked about it in other podcasts as well. Um, so that is an option for you guys to go down. Um, Being mindful as well that there are other assets to our game that we don't want to falter either. Obviously, there is a lot that will go through your head on the ice in a practice setting, in a game setting. So we want to make sure that, hey, yeah, you want to really hammer home one thing, whether it be, again, tracking as an example, but we also want to make sure that our skating's still up to par. We want to make sure that our save execution is up to par, our rebound control, so on and so forth. But we don't want to, for lack of a better term, overload ourselves with, "Hey, I want to do this, and this and that," and we end up not doing anything of it. Is I find just picking one or two skill sets to focus on in a practice setting for an hour, especially when there's no goaltending development involved, you'll be fine. And I think that's a good mentality to have coming into it. Um, and yeah. On the other side of that coin, what about in a game setting? And so my dad would ask me that same question as well. So what do you want to work on in a game? What do you want to focus on in a game? And I kind of looked at him kind of silly for a second. I was like, what do you mean? It's a game. Obviously the goal is to win. That's what I want to work on. I want to work on winning the game. Um, but again, the mindset coming into that is, what is one goal or thing that you want to accomplish in that game? And that's kind of where goaltending is different compared to the rest of hockey. Is, we'll say that, regular hockey fans will say that, "Oh, this goalie was terrible. They gave up 6 goals on 20 shots or whatever." Or, "Oh, did you see that backdoor goal that goalie gave up? That's terrible. He played terrible. This and that." And whereas the goalie will come off the ice thinking like, "Hey, I played pretty decently." So there is that kind of switch, or that divisiveness. That's not the word that I'm looking for, but I'm going to roll with it anyways. Um, so again, going back to the main point, for us as goalies, much like in a practice setting, we still want to come away with something, in a game setting. Whether that be, hey, maybe you're making more blocker saves than you normally do. Maybe you're beating the pass on your feet, more often, going post to post cleanly, entering in and out of your post cleanly, etc. What's one thing for you as a goalie, aside from winning the game, that you want to accomplish in that game? Um, so again, it's that same mindset of just, hey, what's one thing that you want to focus on throughout that game? What's one thing that's going to help that you think is going to help you have a good game? Essentially, and so obviously I'm focusing a lot on the technical aspect of it, but this translates as well into the I guess like the mental aspect of it as well, the cognitive aspect of it. What's one thing that you want to accomplish throughout the game? Oh, by the end of the game, I want to know how many players were left-handed shooters. I want to know how many players were right-handed shooters. um that's one. Another one is, oh, before I get on the ice, I want to make sure that I have a really good pregame meal or a really good pregame stretch, or get in, really want to make sure that I really get in my zone today. Whatever that is, essentially, right? If we pick a goal or a thing that we want to accomplish in a game setting, it's going to work out better for you in the long run. I mean, sometimes as well, you'll see um pro goalies, the reporters will ask them and be like, oh, what happened on X goal or whatever, and the goalie will come back and say, well, I actually thought I played that pretty well. I made the initial save, I made the second save, I read what was going to happen. It was unfortunately a bad break. Something like that. Their goal is that, hey, they made the initial save, which is what they wanted to do. They read the second save well. It's just, sometimes bounces don't go your way, so they're not letting it phase you. Something along those lines. As a game, or during a game setting, we go through a lot as goalies, mentally and physically. We don't want to be making more work for ourselves. We don't want to be overloading ourselves with information, or overloading ourselves with clutter in our own head that's going to end up causing us to have a bad game. That's how we get distracted. That's how we end up making bad decisions. That's how we end up letting our emotions get the better of us. So we want to make sure that we just want to make sure that, when we're entering into a game setting, is it like same as a practice setting? What's one thing that you want to accomplish at the end of the day? All right, so let's jump in to evaluations. We know that evaluations can and always will be the most stressful part of the hockey season. Maybe playoffs, maybe provincials, maybe nationals, maybe just a random game on a Sunday night. But definitely, I have always found in my personal experience evaluations to be the most harrowing part of playing the sport. And there have definitely been some evaluation horror stories. But if you know how to navigate evaluations to the best of your ability, I don't want to say correctly, but I will say to the best of your ability, you should be okay at the end of the day. So I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble. Might put a target on my back, but I'm going to do it anyways. We all know that sometimes evaluations can be a popularity contest filled with corrupted evaluators. We know it. There are some organizations out there that will have just people who have been in the organization for a long time, that when they're doing these evaluations, they are less than, I'm going to say, less than favorable people to be doing these evaluations. I've seen hockey. Not a huge fan of these guys, but I think they raise a good kind of showcase to kind of how things go. Hockey benders. If you ever follow them on TikTok, sometimes they'll showcase, they're doing like a skit of like double A or triple A tryout evaluation, whatever you want to call it. And where people are sliding money under the table, or hey, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's a real thing. It happens. I've seen it. um it's going to happen one way or the other. Um, and so just I want everybody to know that don't take it personally. Do not take it personally. Do not fall into that trap either. It's one of those things that happens in the sport. It's not right, it's not fair, but it happens. But as long as you are doing as long as you're doing what you know to be ethical, and you're doing everything in your power to put yourself in the best position possible, all the power to you. Now, going back to topic one, which I think is important. Again, same idea is that when you go into an evaluation skate, you still want to be not working on your development, but you still want to be coming away with something at the end of the day. What's the goal for this skate? Is it your tracking? Is it your post to post? Is it your beating the pass? Is it your working off the rush? Whatever that may be, um, something to that effect, something along those lines. Um, still there's still an opportunity to learn. There's still an opportunity to grow. There's still an opportunity to come away with something at the end of the day. So it's again never a bad idea to pick one topic that to come away with at the end of the day. When dealing with evaluations as well, um, and I would stress this to anybody that's on a board of directors when it comes to it, third party evaluators. If you have like there, I know that there are some hockey agencies out there. We offer that at True North Goaltending as well. That if there's an opportunity to have a third party evaluation where there is no bias, no nothing, um, do it. Please 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 do it. Um, that way you're going to get the most fair and ethical standing of, or rather idea of where players should be at when it comes to when it comes to tier ranking or even tryout ranking in general. Because I mean, like I said in the first little bit of this segment, is people are going to there are people within organizations that will do less than friendly things, and so um, I just having third party evaluators is never a bad thing. You're going to get the most accurate result possible. Um, and again, like, there's no bias. There's no parental. Um, there's no parental involvement at all. No preferential involvement at all. So I think just in that regard, I mean, obviously, like again, at the end of the day, it is still up to the organization, but um, you know, it's it's uh it's one of those things where I definitely think that third party evaluators need to be a thing, if not maybe something worth looking into. Not always the case, however. Again, in my little perfect world, I think there needs to be like a designated course for evaluators to go. If you're going to sign up to be an evaluator, here's this course that you have to go through, and here's the level of integrity that you have to uphold, and so on and so forth. Not going to be the case, but I think something interesting to have. Um, One thing that when I was dealing with evaluations that I always thought to be, I hated it at the time, I suppose, but it was kind of neat as I think about it now. Um, if you have an opportunity at all, if possible, to know what the drills that you're going to do during the goaltending evaluation are, or even during a regular evaluation, or what the evaluators are looking for, it's never a bad idea to practice that. My dad was one of the evaluators in the organization that I was with. And so he would have the ability to, look at the drills, or, kind of get an idea of what the evaluations were going to be. And so I would suit up in my goalie gear in the driveway, and we would quote unquote practice or train kind of what the drills were. And so I had an idea of what to expect when it came to actually being on the ice. Now, of course, 7-year-old Connor doesn't care about that because he just wants to be on the ice playing hockey, and he doesn't want to be doing training with his dad. But as I look back at it now, I find that to have been very, very useful and very, very helpful. And again, if I cared about hockey maybe a little bit more than I did, and kind of took it a little more seriously, I think that could have been beneficial in the grand scheme of things. But I think, if you have that opportunity to do that, if or even just as a generalization, um, I definitely think that you as players or you as athletes, as goalies, should be jumping on that. I know up here in Canada, there is Hockey Alberta, and I do believe that they have their resources when it comes to that. I'm just going to check that here quickly while I'm live doing that. What am I looking at here? Evaluation sheet. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so like, okay, so there's like a minor hockey development guide here, but I know that, yeah, so it's like a whole PDF here that I guess that I'm looking at. But I know that there was a um what am I looking for here? There is a like a sample sheet of kind of what the actual evaluation, where is it? There. Oh, I found it. Oh, no, hold on. Well, oh yeah, so like what I'm looking at here is a like a general evaluation form of players, players named, and it's a whole bunch of different things. I'm not going to get into it here, but there is the ability to um go through this PDF or go through something like it, and you'll be able to find out. It looks like I'm seeing drills on here actually, um going through what the drills may be when you're out on the ice, or just kind of the generalization of what one of the drills may be, or the uh what is it? The oh yeah, see right here, it's goaltending skill evaluation. This is an Excel sheet. Oh yeah, see there we go. So balance, mobility, quickness. I haven't really read this a whole lot, but I mean this doesn't really seem to be the greatest. But actually, maybe let's see here. Looking through it, yeah, balance, yeah, okay. Physical characteristics, technical characteristics, quickness of the blocker, quickness of the catcher. Okay, yeah. So I might have to go through this and absolutely rip it apart, but anywho, I mean, it does kind of cover the basics of goaltending and just kind of what evaluators should be looking for. This definitely, I think, needs to be updated here because, like, really, quickness of the blocker, quickness of the catcher, is that really a thing that we need to know about, that we need to do an evaluation on? Nose position at all times, yeah, that's a good one. Looks for a potential shooter, okay, yeah. Use of body, okay, that's generalized. Okay, yeah, I definitely need to go look into this a little bit more here, but that is the general kind of idea that I'm looking at as a general sense, especially in like the Hockey Canada terms of things. There is that, if you do have that ability, and for Hockey Canada there is the ability to hey, here's a generalization of what evaluations may look like. Study up on it, get an idea. Hey, here's the goaltending evaluation sheet. Here's what you as a goaltender maybe should be looking at and maybe should be focusing on throughout that evaluation. Um, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Sometimes things don't go our way in evaluations, whether it's less than favorable people doing the evaluations, or maybe we just didn't have a good evaluation in general, and we ended up in a league, not a league, in a position or a skill level that maybe we don't, or maybe that we shouldn't be in. Don't be discouraged. Don't take it personally. I think those are the two main things to come away from it. Um, and again, I'm a hypocrite for saying this because when I was going through evaluations, I ended up in a tier level that I had no business being in whatsoever. So it was like about a 3-4 month back and forth with the organization to put me in a tier level that I should be in. But there was kind of other stuff to go along with it, and I've told the story before in previous episodes. Um, Obviously, if you feel very, very strongly that you are in a position that, or you're in a tier or a level that you shouldn't be in, obviously take it out with the organization. Um, take it out with Hockey Alberta, Hockey Canada, or whatever the overall governing body may be. Um, obviously that in itself can portray you negatively at the same time. So you want to be mindful of that. But as a generalization sense, and I see it so many times, especially on Facebook groups, be like, oh, my goalie didn't make this level because the other kid's parents paid for it or whatever, or the coaches hate us or whatever that may be. Well, there may be some truth to that, but I always like to believe that the glass is half full, and maybe that's just not the case. Maybe you're just not happy about where you ended up. And it kind of ties into my third point here, or my last point here, rather, is that when you are going through evaluations or when you're going through tryouts, you are representing yourself. You're representing yourself as a person. You're representing yourself as an athlete. So you want to make sure that you're professional at all times. Um, Shaking hands, putting on a face, that's going to portray you favorably. That's not the way I wanted to word it that, but that's how I'm going to word it. So like again, it's in the same sense of like you're applying for a job, right? You know, you want to make sure that you look your best. You want to make sure you're representing yourself in the best way possible. You're not swearing, you're not doing anything that you normally do that would portray you in a bad light. Um, you know, things like that really, at the end of the day. So it all, like, those last 2 points, they kind of go hand in hand with each other there. Um, so you want to make sure that, just especially during this process, is that you are portraying yourself in the best way possible. So take that as you will. I know some people may ask, how do you deal with evaluations? How do you deal with, corrupted evaluators? Or how do you deal with, maybe getting outshined in an evaluation? I have to say that really evaluations in the base way of things, especially even tryouts, it's luck of the draw. You're competing for a spot. You are competing against others, but also you're competing against yourself at the same time, right? So you want to you want to make sure that you're putting the best foot forward, and you want to make sure that you're leaving every skate feeling good, that you've left it out, that you've left it all out on the ice, and just at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're coming away from that skate just feeling good about what you did out on the ice. It's kind of like a game situation, right? You want to make sure that you're leaving that ice feeling good about your performance, even though maybe the score doesn't reflect it, the stats don't reflect it, but you want to make sure that you're coming off the ice saying that, like, hey, I had a good game today, even though the team didn't play well, even though maybe my stats don't reflect that way. I want to make sure that I came off that ice feeling good and leaving it all out there on the ice to the best of my ability. So you're gonna deal with evaluators that don't know what they're doing or are there because they're kids on the ice or whatever. um you're going to deal with that. It's a thing that happens. And then even then, just learning again, just kind of what the drills may be, what the evaluators may be looking for. We've already kind of talked about that. um just again, at the end of the day, just like I said, it's just you're applying for a job, and you're competing against other people, and you're competing against yourself. So take that as it will. I want to go through this. Goaltender skill evaluation thing with Hockey Canada. Um, Maybe another pod, just kind of talking specifically about this, or maybe just maybe the differences between Hockey Canada's and Hockey Alberta's. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find that. I might do that. That might be another pod episode that maybe Nathan and I can go through. But yeah, a little bit of a shorter one today. Obviously, Nathan and I don't have each other to riff off of and XYZ. So you can only listen to myself talk for so long. Hopefully you guys took something away from this today. And if you'd like me to clarify anything, leave a comment down below if you are watching on the YouTube side of things, or shoot us an email, goalies@truenorthgoaltending.com. I'd be more than happy to expand on things, if you will. and even maybe just if there's something that I missed in this episode, maybe you let me know, and then we can chat about it in the next episode. Yeah, I'm again, like I said, like I think I'm happy with the two topics that we talked about today. I feel good. I've left it all out there. So, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But again, like I said, hopefully you guys took something away from those two topics today. Again, I know it wasn't too in depth, especially with that first topic. Like I said, I've talked about it in other podcasts. So go check back in most recent episodes. I'm sure that I've left little nuggets here and there talking about that. But that was something that I definitely wanted to talk about today. And then even then, again, with the evaluations part of it, so we might have done a podcast episode on it, but just a little bit of a refresher episode today. And that'll do it for another episode of the DIY Goalie Podcast presented by True North Goaltending. Make sure you guys go check us out at True North Goaltending. We are in the final stages of the new website, about ready to be live. So make sure you guys keep checking us out there at www.truenorthgoaltending.com. It's going to have all the stuff that you normally see on the True North Goaltending website, as well as all the merged pages from the original DIY Goalie website, all under one banner at True North Goaltending. So check back on that. It's going to have all the new pod episodes, our blogs, our drills, everything in between, our shop merch stuff. So make sure you guys check that out here. We will be posting on our social media about when that new when that new website goes live. So make sure you follow us on our social media platforms at True North Goaltending across all of your favorite social media platforms, except on Instagram, because we like to be different. That one is YEG Goalie Coach. You can follow myself on Instagram at MondayGC. And if you are listening on your favorite podcasting platforms, whether that be Apple, iHeart, or Spotify, make sure you leave a like. No, that's YouTube. Make sure you leave a follow if you're new. Make sure you hit that share button. So the more goaltenders that we can bring to our little community, the better. If you are watching on the YouTube side of things, leave a like, hit subscribe, again, share. The more goalies that we can bring together, the better. On behalf of myself and the absent Nathan Park, this is the DIY Goalie Podcast presented by True North Goaltending. Make some saves, goalies. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.